Okay, welcome back, people. This is Larry again, and we're going to try to get through Contact Report 124 today. All right. This one was translated by Benjamin Stevens. The corrections and improvements made by Joseph Darmanin and Catherine Mossman, and the contact person is Semyase. Okay, this took place on Sunday, the 11th of November, November 11, 1979, 11/11. Okay. Semyase, you see me very delighted to be able to welcome you today while you are in good health in spite of everything. Be welcomed. Billy, greetings, girl. Your greeting sounds quite overblown. What does that have to do with? Semyazi, I'm just happy about the fact that you came here safe and sound, which I want to express with my words. Billy, I really do not understand that now, for there is, indeed, nothing that could arouse your or my concern. Semyazi, I am talking about the fact that you and your family, your wife, Methuselah, and Eva, escaped from a serious accident only by your presence of mind and by your quick reaction. Billy, oh, you know that already? Moreover, Atlantis and Gilgamesh also belong to my family, and the two were not there when it crashed. Thus, you are illogical when you speak of my family because it was truly only a part of my family. Semyazi, I spoke of your family, of your wife, Methuselah, and Eva, but not of the whole family. Billy, okay, you have won, but how do you know that already? Semyazi, I took everything from our recordings, which are continuously made by the monitoring apparatus, as you know, and concerning your person. Everything in the vicinity of 20 kilometers from your center is recorded. Hence, I know that on the 30th of October, you were driving your heavy road vehicle when a heavy goods vehicle met you at high speed, whose driver was under the not inconsiderable influence of alcohol, which is why he was no longer able to steer his vehicle in a controlled manner. Consequently, you had to perform a very daring evasive maneuver where you only had the possibilities of steering your vehicle over the dangerous and steep road embankment or of ramming the oncoming heavy goods vehicle head on or of ramming a tree frontally and sideways by a daring maneuver. Three possibilities which you had to think through within a split second. A split second which decided on the lives of some of your family as well as your own life. But as it was not to be expected any differently from you, you decided and acted completely correctly. The only way to escape with only minor property damage and with complete security for all lives was for you to perform the daring evasive maneuver and to ram into the tree. If you would have driven head on into the heavy goods vehicle or over the road embankment, then it would have meant death for all of you. Billy, now it was not so bad, but the truck really was going rather fast. If I had caught the driver, then I would have beaten him. However, he had simply driven away and determined that he was going 80 kilometers per hour. Semyazi, the recordings show that his heavy goods vehicle had a speed of 85.6 kilometers per hour, while the speed of your vehicle was 28 kilometers per hour. After you had cut it back by 63 kilometers per hour upon seeing the heavy goods vehicle. Billy, your explanations are, indeed, better than a police report. Maybe you can also still tell me who the irresponsible driver was. Then I can find the guy who can then fork out to me for the damages to my vehicle, which certainly amount to about 3,000 francs. Semyasi, who the drunk driver was, I cannot tell you, unfortunately, because the monitoring apparatus would have recorded the person and his or her place of residence only if the one resided within the monitoring circle. Such a recording does not exist, however, which means that the driver of the vehicle must reside outside of the circle. Billy, and what about the auto number, or more precisely, the police license plate? Semyazi. The apparatus does not record lifeless data, but only living or self-moving. Billy. Oh, I see. Then I have to bear the damages myself, whether I like it or not. Semyazi. Sure, that will be so. Be glad, however, that everything went so well, and above all, that you yourself were driving your vehicle. If another person had been sitting at the wheel, then deadly consequences would have been inevitable, as my probability calculations, which I made, have shown. Billy, you mean if Eva had been driving? Semyazi, sure, but I also examined the possibility for Jacobus, because he usually drives the vehicles when you are underway. My probability calculation for him revealed that he would have driven down the road embankment, which would have led to fatal consequences. The probability calculation yielded that at least 3 people would have lost their lives. It may not seem so at first sight when a drop-off of the road is considered, but the calculations clearly showed this bad result, as we can rely on these in every respect. Billy, how high did the value of this calculation amount to then? Semyazi, 100%, while with Eva, there is a 100% certainty that all 4 passengers would not have survived, because she would have only cut back the speed of your vehicle and would have remained on the roadway, by which means the heavy goods vehicle would have then rammed you head on in the middle of your vehicle. Billy, that means that we would have been turned into paste, right? Semyazi, sure. Billy, I had also considered such things myself, and therefore I evaded and rammed into the tree. But let us leave that. It is indeed over and already forgotten. I am interested in other things. Here, these are some more pages from Hans Rudi, if you want to study these sometime. Semyazi, of course, we already talked about that once. Billy, have you found out anything in the meantime then? It would really be good to know what connections everything has and how valuable everything is. Semyazi, sure, I can also explain some things to you, at least as far as it is of significance and importance. The writings, composed by H.G., are based on impulses penetrating into him, which undoubtedly and unambiguously originate from the subconscious forms of earthly humankind, and to be sure, from the subconscious forms of the living human beings of Earth of the current time. These impulses lead H.G. to make deep thoughts about the issues known to you and to hold these in writing. Often, however, he is not aware of these impulses, so he assumes that all thought impulses would arise from his self. So thus, he is often of the idea that everything is his very own. Truthfully, however, it is such that these subconscious impulses penetrate into him because he seeks authoritative contacts in other spheres, which will remain refused to him, however. But nevertheless, the impulses penetrating into him are of great significance because due to his steady efforts relating to this, he has enabled himself to take on a task of great importance, so namely to be a confirmer of your mission. A task which truly embodies a great value, but he must expand this more intensively and into a form of increased responsibility. So far, he has not yet reached the form of responsibility in the measure of what is necessary, which is why incorrectness also arises with regard to self-conscious constructions of incorrect interpretations and explanations. Interpretations arise in such a manner as if the impulses originated from human life forms of other stars, where the explanations would truly have to say that the impulses and inspirations from other subconscious forms come from human beings of the earth. Thus, impulse values become translated incorrectly, so a completely incorrect expression value often arises from an impulse value. So, for example, other lands, or another level of consciousness, becomes translated and laid out as other stars and distant worlds, and the like, which does not correspond to the correctness. HG must therefore take great care to ensure that he, if he wants to fulfill his task seriously, makes extremely accurate interpretations and translations, otherwise his entire work becomes pointless. For some reason that is still incomprehensible to me, he also makes the impulse explanations and impulse interpretations in a shifted and a mixed up manner of writing, so his sentences become twisted, whereby the end is very often mentioned at the beginning and the beginning at the end. Clearly, this often confusing manner of writing is based on HG's own thought processes, because the impulses penetrating into him correspond in no wise to a form of sentence, but only to shadowy impulses, which he would have to process further through his own trains of thought, form into consistent sentences, and write them down. He usually makes these sentence formations quite correctly, but then he changes these, for inexplicable reasons, into the shifted and mixed up manner of writing. This corresponds not only to an incorrectness with regard to the impulse explanations and the thoughts, as well as the true original sentence formations, but it also seems confusing and often incomprehensible. It is advised to him that he quickly fixes these things in the coming time, because in every respect only absolute correctness is able to create a lasting value. Billy: that helps me very much, dear girl, but surely also him. Should I give Hans Rudy your words in writing once you have transmitted the report to me? Semyazi: sure, it would surely be advantageous for him. Thus he can study my explanations in detail. Billy: good, but I would like to ask you immediately to show some consideration with the report transmission. I have a lot of outdoor work to do, where in particular I still have to make a pond for our water birds, which means that I cannot constantly run into the office. Semyazi: sure, I will wait for a suitable moment before I transmit everything to you. But then that can, under certain circumstances, take several weeks. Billy: that does not matter. The important thing is that I can do my work undisturbed. Semyazi: of course, there is indeed also no hurry for the transmission. It should just be that you can write this down before our next contact takes place, which will not be so very long in the waiting. Billy: all right. If the weather does not allow that I can work out in the open, and therefore I am by necessity in the office, then you can dictate your transmissions at any time. Semyazi: I will be concerned about that. Billy: quite dear thanks. Semyazi: so now you will want to listen. I still have some important things to explain to you regarding our conditions for maintaining our friendly contacts. As you do know, these contacts henceforth stand under a certain condition that must be met. Otherwise, we must also end our meetings of this form. This concerns the need for the fact that the matter must now be clarified with regard to the travels of various members of the group, where it was explained that America would probably be the best place for this purpose. It should now be clearly said that this condition concerns a demand which serves the purpose of group integration. All previous attempts at a proper group union were unsuccessful up to now, which is why this demand became a priority. Therefore, it shall now be such that various group members will go to other places for a period of 2 to 3 years, where they should be constructively active on their own initiative, which means that they are to create and build up a second homestead for your group in their own power and responsibility, but also fundamentally endeavor themselves around all necessary self-changes in every respect, by what means a reliable group will finally emerge, which is able to fulfill its task as was originally planned. The fact that most group members did not try, however, to integrate themselves into the whole group and into the task is well known to all. Still today, despite this knowledge, the same spirit prevails all around with a large part of the group members, like always. So one wants to dominate over another and estimates herself as higher and more valuable than another. For these reasons, we, on our own responsibility, set the demand and condition that if the contacts with us are to continue further, then the group members, within 6 months, would individually have to become clear about what they intend to do regarding this demand. That time for the decision has now come, which is why we also strove for an exact clarification of the possibilities of the individual group members. Billy, that had been so agreed that I know. We also have not dropped the plans relating to this. It is just that they have not been addressed for a somewhat long time. Out of everyone, practically only Elsie has endeavored herself intensively around everything and has voluntarily decided to go to America, which she already wants to do in January of 1980. Semyazi, sure, her decisions are well known to me, but these are not of such a voluntary form as she presents it. It is primarily our doing that she has made this decision. She would not have done this on her own initiative. In this case, we were forced to assert our power because it was so necessary, because out of all the group members, she represents the most suitable person with the most initiative who is able to establish a second center. Billy, so that is it. Semyazi, sure, because we had no other option. So, it's Larry here. Again, they put their own thoughts into other people's heads and make them think that it was their own idea. They kind of influenced Elsie to decide that she needed to go to the U.S. because they wanted her to go to the U.S. Billy, with Elsie, also Beat and Vreni, as well as their 2 children, want to go to America. Semyazi, that is no obligation at all for them. For one thing, they are not core group members, at least not yet, which may already change within a short time. However, because they intend to apply as core group members, and also a group integration is not so very difficult for them. But nevertheless, their decision does represent a great value for the new building up of another center that is to be hoped for, as Elsie can truly use their help. Billy, that is good. Then I can explain that to them. Semyazi, sure, it will be of great value if they join Elsie. The beginning and opportunities in America will not exactly be great and will not be very pleasant because various difficulties will appear. This must be clear to all of them. Those whom we have intended for this task and for this urgent self-change should also know this, as this is necessary and of importance for them, even for the whole group. Billy, but nevertheless, some still have to remain in the center because we all cannot go away. Semyazi, that also is not intended because the only ones who should undertake the journey and, for the time being, spend 2 to 3 years on that which is planned are those for whose personality development and group integration this is most necessary. Billy, that reassures me, but tell me now, then should everything start and develop in America? Semyazi, we will clarify that in consultation with you personally. Once the first group members have gone there, it should be their obligation to transfer detailed documents and photos to you on an ongoing basis, which you will then work through with us, and we will then have to make joint decisions. We have to do so because despite everything, we are not sufficiently familiar with your earthly conditions so that we could make such decisions alone and by ourselves. The fact that we grasp these things and concerns far too little and are not sufficiently familiar with these, This has proven itself to us throughout the entire time of the last years since you and I took up contact. Clearly and unquestionably, we have now recognized that without your authoritative leading of the whole thing, that which was created with very tough fights would have never been achieved. During the last days, we had to teach ourselves about the fact that we grasped the earthly concerns far too little, and that you have truly always acted correctly. This also applies to all personnel of the human beings, and thus to all group members, whom you, despite all our better analysis capabilities, were able to and are able to judge better and handle better than is possible for us. So basically, it sounds like she's apologizing to him and to the core group because they don't know us as well as they think they do. They got to know us pretty good if they can see our thoughts and they can record our thoughts. But anyway, surely this late admission is not easy for us, but it must be done anyway because it corresponds to the truth. From this realization, we now understand very well that your reactions to us and towards us were often just as aggressive as what was otherwise also sometimes the case in relation to the group members. And all this knowledge has led us to the fact that in the future we will not make a decision before you have expressed your opinion on it and have given your possible consent. So it should also be now, since it concerns a second center. Before we place the final demand relating to this, we would like to hear your opinion. Billy, there is absolutely nothing for position taking because I already said before that I myself also see this possibility as still the only one that can lead to the fact that everything will finally work out. I myself know well enough that new wind is damned important and that a mild breeze never does anything. Therefore, if you have gained knowledge from your analyses that various group members will do everything only if they go abroad, then I assume that this is actually true. I, for my part, find that your analysis of persons are very much better than my own determinations. Semyazi, sure, in this respect, we can rely on our apparatuses utterly and completely. Billy, then what is there to ask me questions about? Semyazi, we just wanted to know your view and your determinations. Billy, you know them now, so fire away. Who now has been determined for this? Semyazi, in the first place, we spoke of Elsie traveling. For her, it is determined that she begins her journey and takes on her new task no later than the date of 27th of April, 1980. Madeline follows in the second place, for whom a time period is set from March of 1980 until November of 1980, during which she is to prepare for the journey. The implementation date is fixed at the 21st of November 1980 at the latest. Bernadette follows next, and for her a time is fixed from the month of July 1980 until the 30th of November 1980. As the fourth in this league, Johann is planned, whose time extends to the 6th of December 1980, since he has to go on the journey at the latest. These are the first four core group members who are assigned this demand. Such a speedy assignment would also be of urgent necessity for Jacobus, but your care for him seems to be better, which is why we are taking distance from this for the time being. With him, the possibility is very good that his integration and self-evaluation will progress and within good framework even in the center, if he finally strives for everything within a good framework. Billy, there I have one less worry, because I would have put this guy in another group, only damn reluctantly. Semyazi, that is understandable to me. But now it must still be said that the planned journeys of the various group members can only be put into reality if the core group members strive, from now on, to find new group members who are willing to integrate themselves valuably on the one hand and into the group on the other hand. At the time of departure of the individual group members, the group's members may become fewer under no circumstances, which is why it is to be such that for each departing group member, 2 new group members must already be found for the continued existence and expansion of the group. Before the 2 new group members are found, for the departing member, the one intended should not and may not leave, which should not mean, however, that the intended person concerned does not strive for the continued existence and expansion of the group, so as not to have to begin the journey. The set time periods for that which is planned must, in fact, be kept, but this, along with the fulfillment of the condition regarding the new group members, were undoubtedly, it must be... let me start that again, sorry. It's early. The set time periods for that which is planned must, in fact, be kept, but this along with the fulfillment of the condition regarding the new group members, where undoubtedly it must be certain that such new group members are not just recruited for a short time so as to permit the departure, according to which the recruits could then leave the group and in turn their obligations. This, therefore, may not be the case, although this tendency will appear occasionally. Billy, that is indeed a hard demand, but it seems obvious to me. Just one question about Elsie. If she goes now and Vrenny as well as Beat want to join the core group, does that count then as fulfillment of the duty? Semyazi, no, it cannot. Only those new core group members who are active here and duty fulfilling possess validity. Billy, and how are these new members supposed to be found? Semyazi, the way is known to all, but the main effort lies in the interest of those who will depart. Billy, then still another question. What should happen then if these conditions are willfully not fulfilled? Semyazi, you know the statutes of your community, which are also known, however, to all group members. A willful failure to comply with the conditions would equal a breach of statute with respect to the destruction attempt of the entire group. An exclusion would therefore be consistent. So Larry here, she's saying that if they don't do what the player and tell them to do, then they get kicked out of the group. Their history. Getting pretty... these people have to travel to the U.S. and start a center over here. I haven't heard anything about a center in the U.S. I imagine there probably is somewhere, but it'd be kind of interesting to find out where that is. Maybe I could go check it out. Anyway, Billy, that is really logical. Yes, you are right. But since we are already at the statutes, it has become apparent that for the sphere of the internal group, various points arise, which are not mentioned in the statutes, but which represent a certain importance and should, therefore, still be noted in separate internal group statutes. What do you say to this? Do you think that this would be right? Semyazi, sure, you should do that, because the created and approved statutes do not regulate the actual sphere of the internal group. Billy, I have also found that. Then I will take care of it. But now it just comes to mind that our first book has already been printed and is already on sale. Semyazi, that is known to me, and I have already occupied myself with that in a roundabout fashion. Billy, and what do you think about it? And what do you think of it? Semyazi, it is, indeed, the most valuable bookwork that has ever been made accessible to the earthly human forms. To the earthworms. There has never been its equal. With that, I would like to express my deepest thanks and my solidarity and love to your friends who have made this possible. Billy, that will surely make them happy. Semyazi, sure, and this joy is their own honest earning. Billy, then still another question. When will it probably be that I can photograph your new ship? Semyazi, if all things take their proper course, then it will be next year. Billy, that is good, but will that also apply when the big ruckus has its beginning in world events? You know just as well as I do what is to start and through the idiotic world politics. You know just as well as I do what is to start in and through the idiotic world politics. Semyazi, sure, it will also apply then, because you, as well as we, will not be particularly affected by that. But about that, you may make no announcements. So, another secret. You also still have the records of my predictions from last autumn, by which I mean the autumn of 1978, which you must continue to keep secret just as before. You have indeed done that, yes? Billy, of course, in each case, I only officially give things outside of the group for which I can take responsibility in accordance with your information, nothing more. Semyazi, sure, it would also be illogical and irresponsible to do otherwise. In this regard, we have never had to fear. Billy, I have, indeed, learned to keep silent. Semyazi, it is now also time that I make the already long-promised list of names containing the names for your group descendants. I will do this work as soon as possible. So she's going to make a list of the names of the group descendants. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll see. Billy. Oh, yes, that is good. We do need a name soon. When will you be able to give me this list? Semyazi, I will take care of it in the next few days, so I can perhaps already bring it to you at the next contact. Billy, that is dear of you. Do you still have some things, or can I go? Semyazi, you are in a hurry? Billy, yes, because at home, Vreni and Beat are waiting for me. They want to go home, but before that, they would still like to talk with me. Semyazi, then you must go. Goodbye, my dear friend, and very best regards and wishes from Playa, Quetzal, Minara, Father, Alina, and all others. From them all, I am to give you especially dear greetings and am to convey to you their thanks for all your efforts. In addition, cordial greetings should also be given to all our friends in your group, and I would still like to add my special good wishes for them all. But now, goodbye. Billy, take care and come back quite soon. This time your absence lasted damn long once again. Semyazi, next time it will be an earlier coming back. For now, each month, in spite of our departure, will always be about 3 weeks on Earth, where we inhabit our stations that we left and keep them in good condition. Let me get that again. Semyazi, next time it will be an earlier coming back. For now, each month, in spite of our departure, we will always be about 3 weeks on Earth, where we inhabit our stations that we left and keep them in good condition. So they're leaving. They're coming back about 3 weeks a month or something. I don't know. Billy, so you did not just destroy these? Semyazi, no, it was decided differently. We continue to use them and hope that we can take them over again in full function at a later point in time. But this now depends only on your group as to whether this now finally fulfills the necessary conditions and appropriately works and changes to that state which is necessary for the fulfillment of the mission. Billy, so if everything is fulfilled, can we hope that in some time the contacts will be resumed in their old form? Semyazi, that would be quite possible, sure. It could be like that, however, in 2 to 3 years at the earliest. Until then, unfortunately, only our purely friendly contacts are valid, as I already explained to you. Up to that point in time, however, if this actually comes from the changes for the better in your group and in the individual group members, all our earthly stations remain free from a continuous occupation by us or by all those working together with us. Let me stick a note in here. She's mentioned before that the Pleiadians have 3 separate sites, one in Switzerland somewhere, and I forget where the other 2 were. But there are other races that are part of the Pleiadian Federation, or the federation that the Pleiadians belong to. There are other bases that belong to these other people that are here studying and working and whatever. So who knows how many bases they have on the Earth, how many temporary homes they maintain. Okay, Billy, does that mean that also the Bavis and all others have abandoned the Earth stations? Semyazi, sure, but they have not abandoned these, but have only left them like we did, and they have also arranged a shuttle service, by which means they can keep their stations in operation, but only in a highly limited form. I wonder why everybody's bailing from the Earth. Neither they nor we can abandon everything because too much depends on it all. The main task, however, was in every respect our mission and the majority fulfillment of this by you and your group. Since the group has failed, however, owing to the various members, we had to put this mission aside, at least for the time being, and with the hope that we can still fulfill this nevertheless, if the individual group members finally become reasonable and insert themselves into everything as is necessary. Billy, and if not? Semyazi, then we must break off all relations, drop our mission definitively, and leave the earthly humanity without further pardon and without our well-intended guidance and instruction to its fate, which the earthly human being has set and chosen themselves. Billy, that would mean that the earth human would have to rely only on his or her very own evolution without outside help. Semyazi, sure, and for this each individual group member of the free community of interest bears a responsibility, and in this case or another. And it is truly so that a few human beings of Earth bear the full responsibility for all of the upcoming events on this planet and for the entire spiritual development of the earthly human life form. Every single group member should consider this and think about it thoroughly. No pressure, huh? But now, my friend, you really must go. Goodbye. Billy, bye, girl, and greet everyone rather dearly for me. Take care, ... Semyazi, goodbye. And that is the end of Contact Report 124. So we're only on friendly contacts now, not official contacts. And it sounds like they may also go away in the near future. But I hate to cheat and look into the future, but I noticed there are thousands of contact reports, and we're up to 124. So they must have worked something out, and we'll see as we go. So thanks for listening, if you're still here listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. We'll catch you on Contact Report 125. See ya. Bye.